record this meeting. And here is the list of contents for today's discussion. Like we'll try to understand the different status codes of HTTP response, and we'll also try to build one simple servlet which is going to be helpful with understanding those status codes of response. Right, we know that whenever we are trying to generate an appropriate response from the server based on the request we passed through the browser, the servlet is going to return as something like which protocol it is executing and what is the status code of it. If it is not available, if that particular component we are trying to access is not available, 404 we used to get. And if it is a successful one, the content which we are requesting for is available, then in that case the status code will be 200 and the status message will be OK. And then what type of content it is loading, what MIME type it is trying to load over there, that content type, whether it is text or plain or text or HTML, all that, along with the respective output. So in this case you can observe that this is your line of output that you can see on your web page, and content type, all these things are the different activities that are going to be internally applicable onto that HTTP servlet response object. So that way every time the servlet response object is returned back to the end user through the browser, so it keeps carrying the respective status line as well as the content type, which is all part of your response header, we can say, right? So accordingly, whether it could be text or plain, text and HTML, text and images, or images slash PNG, so all such things will be part of that content type. And majority of the time the status codes will be internally used, and in case being a developer, if we wanted to set our own status value, then we'll be able to use that set status method. And always this set status method we need to apply it before we extract the print writer object from that response object. So this set status method is the one which takes an integer value as its argument, to which you can pass 404, 200, all these things, which are all the predefined status code constants, we can say. So in addition to that set status method, there are a couple of other things like send error. You wanted to send some error message to the end users through your web page with an appropriate code followed by the user-friendly message, right? Or you wanted to redirect onto the other URLs whenever some successful execution has been happened, right? So all these are the different methods that we'll be able to invoke on this HTTP servlet response object, like set status, send error, send redirect, all these things, right? So let's start using these things by writing a servlet of our own. Like these are the classification of your status codes, we can say 100 to 199 they are all informational, 200 to 299 they are all success related, 300 to 399 they are all location header related things, 400 to 499 they are all the errors by the client, 500 to 599 they are all the errors by the server, right? So that way the status codes are classified into, right? So let's start using the majority of the status code, not all the status codes at once, but we'll try to understand how do we use this set status method or send error method, send redirect, all that, right? So let us understand the usage of 200, the usage of 302, the usage of 404, all these things, right? So let's go there. Let us build one simple servlet, and we will invoke this servlet from a HTML page, right? So first of all, let us build the HTML page, then we'll go to the servlet. Either the way we can do, but let us prepare the HTML first, then we'll be building the servlet. Okay, so who would like to share the screen? Shrikanya, Ahmed, Raja Singh, Rishita. Rishita, would you like to share? Shall I make you the presenter? Oh, your net is slow. Okay. Okay, Shrikanya, shall I make you the presenter there? Raja Singh. Okay, let's go to Ahmed by default. Ahmed, I made you the presenter. Okay. So go to my web project, and in that my web project web content folder is there. It is the one meant for keeping all our HTML files as well as the JSP files. Okay. So let's create a HTML file there in that web content folder. Right click on web content and then HTML file. Name that HTML file as searchengines.html. Right, finish. Okay, just change the title of the page on line number 5. Enter title here is there. Insert title here is there. Just delete that one and then mention that search engines page or search engines is fine. Then inside the body tag, copy all these lines of code there that I pasted. So copy all these lines of code there inside the body tag and few more lines after those two radio buttons, Google and Wikipedia. Let us take few more lines like Bing radio button, Yahoo radio button, Ask radio button, Amazon, eBay, and then finally the submit button and close the table and then close the form. Right, so on line number 8 you can see that there is certain heading kept, searching the web, and form action is given as my web project. It is name of your project slash search engine servlet. It is submitting onto that action item, and inside that a table is defined. Search string text box is given there whose name is search string on line 13. Then the next row is going to be search engine, wherein you are going to select any one search engine from those radio button groups. Right, so radio button means what? It is a group of items. You will be able to select only one item from that, because all those names of all the radio buttons is given as same. Name equal to search engine, input type equal to radio, name search engine, name search engine, name search engine. Values keep differing. Right, for Google, for Wikipedia, like that the values are differing. Then finally the submit button is kept. Save this and just run this HTML page on your server. Right now the server is in stopped mode. Click the finish button. It starts your server and there you can see the HTML page. Search string, it is a text box. Search string, it is a text box wherein you can enter some text there. Right, for example, let's enter Sachin Tendulkar. And then you can pick any one search engine from those radio buttons like Google, Wikipedia, Bing, Yahoo, any one you can pick. And finally you can click on the search button. That means the search engine text whatever you entered there should be searched in the selected search engine. Right, you selected Wikipedia, so it should go there to the Wikipedia and should bring me the results of that. So now what happened? It is submitted onto my web project / search engine servlet. Since my search engine servlet is not available, it has given me the HTTP status 404 error. Right? So let's create that servlet. So go to your Java resources and go inside the src folder com.servlet.practice. There right click on that and create a new servlet, name that as search engine servlet. Search engine servlet. Okay, go to line 29 and 30, delete those two lines. Then copy these lines. As soon as you are submitting onto this servlet, I would like to read the parameter called search string. Request.get parameter of search string on line 31. And if it is null or if it is not entered, I mean zero text, length is 0, then I would like to report the problem. So keep the cursor there on report problem and create that method. Okay, so that report problem is going to be created as a private method there, to which you are passing HTTP servlet response as well as the user friendly error message to that. So copy this one line of code inside that report problem method. So I would like to use the send error method of the response object. Paste it at line number 42. Right. Line number 40, variable name is message. Copy that, double click on message. Copy. Go to line 40, string is there. Double click. Paste. Right. Now keep the cursor on line 42. You need to add the throws declaration, because it is going to throw you the IO exception if it is not able to send that error. Right, save this. So here you are trying to verify that whether the problem is available, if that problem is going to carry that missing search string. Means when you don't enter any search string there, it is going to display you that message. Okay, so at the bottom you can see that servers tab, Tomcat v8.5 server at localhost. It shows you started, restart. So right click on that, it requires restart and you can choose the option restart. There you go, your server is got restarted. Now close that Apache error report, close that one, and let us launch the HTML page again. I mean go to HTML page and run that one. Right, don't enter anything, no. let's verify that validation whether it is working or not. So let us not enter any string there. So the blank text box, just simply submit. Click that search button. So what happened? It is going to search engine servlet, question mark search string equal to blank. Nothing is passed to that one, right? So what it is going to show you there? It shows missing search string. And your response, you said that response.send error, response.sc not found. Sc means status code not found. So I wanted to use that status code not found, means 404 is the status code of it. And that with that status code you are sending that error with your own message called missing search string. So missing search string is the message of our own, we can say. Right? So that way it is showing you that error message over there. Is it clear? Suppose if you enter some string there, click the back button and try to enter Sachin Tendulkar this time and try to submit it. Right? So no errors. So it is taken the whole query string. So you can see that HTTP localhost 8080 my web project search engine servlet question mark search string equal to Sachin plus Tendulkar ampersand search engine equal to Wikipedia. So all that is selected, right? And it is, I mean, the appropriate lines of code is not written there, hence it is not showing us any error there, right? So let us continue that. So go back to your servlet. So you just read that search engine text. Now let us read that value as well. So copy these lines of code after line 36. So you said request.get parameter search string earlier. Now this time we wanted to read search engine. So we said string search engine equal to request.get parameter of search engine. So if that search engine is not there, if that search engine is not selected, then we would like to report the problem again with a different message this time. So this time the message will be missing search engine name. Okay. So go to that error page, browser page and click the back button, reload the page, refresh, don't select anything, just enter Sachin Tendulkar over there. If it is not refreshing, you can close this page and run the HTML again, because we want to enter the text but don't want to select the radio button and wanted to verify how it is going to behave without selecting. Yeah, restart server, because you added some lines of code, you made some modifications there in your servlet, so it is prompting you to restart. Let it be. Yeah, don't select any search engine, just say submit the search button. So what happened? Search string is selected, search string is entered there as Sachin, but the search engine was not selected, so it is giving you the second error. Says that missing search engine name. Okay, so if we select any one search engine, then it should be redirected onto that one. Okay, so before it redirected onto the selected search engine, so let's prepare this. Go there to your search engine servlet, just copy this one line of code. Copy this one line of code at line 42. So search spec, we'll create that. Say create class. Okay. Just say finish. Okay. So inside this search spec class, let us define a couple of things. So I would like to define these variables. Okay. We declared private variable there, name and base URL, and also one array we declared called common specs of array type, the same array type, I mean the current class array type. And then let us declare the constructor first and then generate the getters and setters for these things. Of course setters are not required, just the getters are needed. Okay, just press enter. Then generate getters. If not setters, at least generate the getters. Yep, click that option. Just say select getters. Select all, or you can say select getters button is there, right? Now click OK. So only getters will be generated. Okay. So you can see get name, get base URL, get common specs, all that. So let us initiate the common specs. So go to that line number 5 and say that equal to. So how do we initialize the common specs? Within curly braces, equal to, open the curly brace and press enter. Right. So within these curly braces, we will define the common spec objects. So define this one object. So let us instantiate the search spec constructor. So this is going to invoke the constructor new search spec. Name is given as Google and the base URL is given there. Right. So after that you can put comma and then you can add few more things like one for Wikipedia, one for Bing, one for Yahoo, all that. Because every search spec object is going to be defined with its own base URL, right? So just put comma there at the end of line 5 and then press enter and then paste all these lines of code. So that many number of search spec objects will get created. Control Shift F. So first object is for Google, second one is for Wikipedia, then the next one Bing, Yahoo, Ask, eBay, Amazon. So these are all the different search spec objects we are trying to create and then putting all of them inside our array called common specs. right? So now if you go back to your search engine servlet, you are calling that get common specs method, right? So when you say search spec dot get common specs, that returns you that method. Can you please press enter after line 36? Right, and delete that line 32. Keep the cursor at line 32, control D on that. Means it is all with respect to the validation check for search string. Then the next block is for to validate the search engine selection. Press enter after line 41. So this is going to be if all those two validations are properly verified, then we retrieve the get common specs into our common specs array. Now we would like to loop through that. Just write a for loop after line 43. Press enter after line 43 and try to write for control space bar. Iterate over right. You can iterate over array like that starting from the index I, or you can also use your for each loop. Control Z please. Just verify that for control space bar. For each is not there. Right. So from that common specs, it is going to get one spec object at a time, right? And inside this for loop, we wanted to verify whether that search spec object name is matching with your search engine variable that you retrieved at line number 37. So how do we do that? Let's write this if construct there. Inside that for loop, copy this if statement. Right, there you go. Control Shift F. Something is missing. I think the closing of if statement is missing. Close that curly brace. Right. So if search spec dot get name value is equals with the search engine variable at line number 37, then I would like to say search spec dot get base URL. So URL will be returned to you. For that URL, you are trying to concatenate your search string value that you retrieved at line number 31. So that is going to form the complete URL, and you are redirecting your response to that URL, saying that response.send redirect URL. Is that clear? So whichever the search spec object that matches with the selected search engine, it prepares the base URL plus the search string text is concatenated to that, and to that URL it is redirecting to. Save this, and your server is prompting you to restart, or you can close that error report, Apache Tomcat error report you can close, and you can go back to your search engine's HTML and you can relaunch it. Yes, restart the server because you added a new class, all that, so let it be. Now let us enter search string Sachin. Select any one search engine. Amazon. Click the search button. So the search engine text whatever you passed is given to the URL Amazon URL. So amazon.com/yes/URL, all that is the base URL that you constructed in your search spec object for that Amazon. and it is doing that searching for us with the help of Amazon. So these are all the search engines, right? Wikipedia, Bing, Yahoo, Ask, Amazon, all these things are the search engines. So we tried to search for the text Sachin and it took us onto the Amazon because we selected Amazon over there. Click the back button and change that search engine this time. Yeah, go to Wikipedia. Just verify that whether that Wikipedia is able to show that or not. Right, so there you go. So en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Sachin. So this is all the content that is shown on Wikipedia link. Right? So that way you'll be able to verify any text by selecting the appropriate search engine, and then the selected base URL is prepared by concatenating your search engine text and is redirected onto that particular URL. So here what are the things you observed? You are playing with that response object. You are using that response.send redirect method. You are using that response.send error method, wherein you are trying to send your own error message by setting with an appropriate status code called not found. Right? So that way we'll be able to play with this particular thing. Any questions here? Any questions? Okay, I pasted few URLs there, which are from studytonight.com and then developers.google.com. So they will also be helpful to you to read through some more theoretical pointers, all that. And also that Google website is given to you. I mean that developers.google.com, it is trying to explain you to create one guest book application. So I want you guys to create one which is explained there. Can you do that? So it is almost like a mini project. Right? Try to share if you are able to done with that, so that I'll try to review your code, how good, how well you executed that project by reading all those steps from the developers.google.com. Alright, so that is all about that response object. Okay, then let's try to understand one more object here as part of Servlet programming called request dispatcher. So request dispatcher is an object which is going to receive the requests from the client end and sending those requests onto any other resource, like the way we said response.send redirect here, so that it is redirected onto the URL. Similarly to the resources of our own, like whether it could be a servlet of your own, or it could be the JSP page, or it could be HTML which is running on your server. Right? So that way if you wanted to create the request dispatcher object, which could be used as a wrapper object around that specified server resource which is located on your path, right? And using that request dispatcher object, you will be able to execute any one of these two actions, either forward or include, right? So forward method, its syntax is same as your do get method, which takes request, response, throwing servlet exception, IO exception, all that. And also include is trying to do the inclusion of content. It also follows the same syntax. So let's quickly create few servlets which are going to demonstrate the usage of these include and forward methods of our request dispatcher object. So go to Eclipse Let's create a new servlet in your package. Name that servlet as D servlet. D, A, B, C, D. Right, finish. And then you can go there to line number 29 and 30. You can delete them. There you can copy and paste all these lines of code. Copy these lines and paste them at line 29 there. Yes, import it from javax.servlet package. Right? So here response.setContentType text HTML. Then print writer object is given. Yeah, delete that line 39. It is not needed. Blank line it is, right? Yeah. So you are trying to display some message saying that welcome to the servlet, and then you are trying to get that request dispatcher object on hi.html. If it is not equal to null, then I would like to include the content of that HTML page in this servlet. Right, so let us save this and run this servlet. Let's see what it is going to show us. Restart, because it is a new servlet you added. It need to register with your Tomcat server. So you got error. So the error is saying that HTTP 500 internal server. Go to console. What is that error? You can read there on the console. If you scroll up, right, file not found exception. java.io.file not found exception. The requested resource slash my web project slash hi.html is not found, is not available. Right, so let us create that HTML page. So go to web content folder. Right click on web content and create a new HTML file. hi.html, capital H-I. You can change the title as hi HTML or my HTML page, some title you can say. Just say hi. Line number 5, you can say that. Then you can copy these lines of code inside the body tag. Right? Save this. And for HTMLs, your server doesn't require any restart. So go to that HTTP 500 internal server error. Just refresh that link. There you go. So your D servlet is getting loaded with the text saying that welcome to D servlet, and after that it is trying to include the content of your hi.html page, which was included as a dispatcher object using the include method. So if you go back to your dispatcher dservlet.java, there you can see that You are defining the request dispatcher by saying request.get request dispatcher of hi.html, and if the dispatcher object is not equal to null, you are invoking the include method on the dispatcher object by passing your request and response to it. That way, that hi.html page is included in your servlet's output. That is what you can see that. Right? So what is there in that hi.html? It is carrying some heading, h3 level heading, saying that hey, it's hi.html. After that, it is carrying the form tag wherein the action is defined, right, with one text box and one submit button. Go there. You can see the text box, you can see the submit button. So try to enter something there in the text box and then click that submit button. Let's see what it is trying to do. So what it is trying to do, it is submitted to another servlet saying that e-servlet. So where did you mention this? So this is mentioned in the action attribute of your form you defined in your hi.html. Go to your hi.html. Line number 9 says form action equal to my web project e-servlet. So we need to create that servlet. Right, double click on that e-servlet. Only that e-servlet thing, not the whole thing. So we need to create that. Create a new servlet with that name. It should be done inside com.servlet.practice. Okay. So inside this e-servlet, copy these lines of code. Okay, you can see that response.setContentType is done, and then it is trying to create one more request dispatcher object. This time not the HTML page but another servlet called fServlet. So let's create that servlet also. Control Shift F please. Yep. Then create that new servlet called fServlet. So your eServlet is not doing anything. It is just simply trying to forward it on to the fServlet. Your dServlet was including the content from HTML, and your eServlet is trying to forward it on to the next servlet whose name is fServlet. Right, so copy all these lines of code at line 29. Delete line 29 and 30. Right, now Here in your F servlet, you can see that response.set content type is given, print writer object is taken, it is trying to print a message, and it is trying to read the value of that parameter which you are passing it from D servlet. So go to that Apache Tomcat error report page. Retry. It's not able to reload. Okay. So close this one and launch it from your HTML page. I mean dservlet.java, because they are all the new servlets that gets added. They are not yet registered with your Tomcat server. So let them get loaded first. Okay, so this is your D servlet. Enter some text value here in this text box and then submit it. What happened? It is submitted to eServlet actually, but your eServlet has got forwarded into F servlet, right? So in that F servlet you are able to see that message, whatever you entered in the text box of your D servlet, right? So we verified that include is the method which is used to include the content in the servlet by using request dispatcher, and then the other one is eServlet is trying to forward it to F servlet. So URL you can see that it is eServlet, but actually the content, the output is coming from F servlet, right? So this is how the include and forward methods of your request dispatcher object works together. Does it make sense? Okay, so that is how we'll be working with the request dispatcher. Any questions here? Okay. Then one more important thing as part of servlet programming is session tracking. Because we know that this HTTP protocol is a stateless protocol which does not maintain the state of any object. Like for example, if you are logging into the Amazon, it should show you only your cart. I mean, whatever the items you added in your cart, it should show you only your cart. It should not show the items of other members. So how does it know that it is your cart? How does it identifies the respective user's cart? Based on the given user credentials, right? And if it is the valid user, that user object is going to be maintained throughout the session. So using which it is able to identify, it is able to maintain that particular user object inside the session till he logs out of that particular website. So that way it tracks the whole application with respect to that user, right? So for that purpose our servlet programming is providing us an object called HTTP session object. So before the existence of HTTP session object, there were cookies wherein as soon as you enter the user credentials, so those credentials used to get stored the respective information in the small tiny files on the local browsers, and it was not considered as the secure mechanism. especially when you are dealing with some banking transactions, all that. If you are banking related, user credentials are saved as the small files. If it is the browser does not belong to your own laptop, if it is the kind of a cyber cafe you are trying to access. So in cyber cafe, if your banking transactions are getting saved as the local files on those browsers, it is not safe. So that is the reason, for the purpose of session tracking, the cookies are not encouraged to use. But cookies is a pretty older mechanism which was used initially to deal with this session tracking purpose. Later, as the cookies were not considered as the safer mechanism, people started working with URL writing. So the details were getting concatenated to the URLs. Right? Even that is not considered as this safe mechanism. Like if you are entering your username password, if username and password will get concatenated to the URL, is it safety? No. Right? So that's the reason even this URL rewriting mechanism was not considered as the safe mechanism. Then hidden form fields came. So every field or data, whatever you feel that it need to be maintained in the session, it was passed, like the way input type equal to text, you are creating the text boxes. Similar to that, there was one more, input type equal to hidden. Those values will not be visible on the browser, but they will be there in the page. If you right click and then say view source code, you can see those details. Right? So that is the reason even it is not considered as the safe mechanism. So that is where this HTTP session API came into existence, which is to be considered as the outstanding technical solution, which is the high level interface which is built on top of your cookies or URL rewriting, all that, right? So that we will be able to use this HTTP session object to deal with the session tracking activities. Like in case if you wanted to access the session object, the very first thing you need to say that request.getSession, so that session will be available to you. Once you get the session, then you will be able to set some data into that by using session.set attribute. Later you wanted to retrieve all the data, you can say session.get attribute, and you wanted to remove the data, you can say remove attribute. So like that, various methods are available under this HTTP session method, HTTP session object, right? So let us write one simple servlet which is going to show us the entire session info. Create a new servlet, name it as show session info, show session info. Okay, finish. Remove line 29 and 30, copy these lines of code there. Here if you see, response.set content type is set as text HTML. Then session object is retrieved by saying request.getSession method. Then one string variable is taken as heading variable, and he is trying to read the value of an attribute called access count. So for the very first time when your session is pretty new, then it is not able to return you any value of that get attribute of access count. So in that case your access count variable will be null. If it is null, I would like to instantiate that access count as with 0, and then I want to initialize my heading variable saying that welcome newcomer. Otherwise, make that heading as welcome back, as well as keep incrementing that access count variable as plus plus, and then put that access count variable as a session attribute by using session.set attribute. So that's what we are trying to do there. And then we would like to print some content over there. So let us take the print writer object and define couple of variables, string variables. Copy all these lines. Press enter at line 45. Yep. Control Shift O, Control Shift F. So print writer object is defined there, title variable is declared there, and the HTML code is started to show the title of the page, and then simple date format is taken, and wherein we are trying to invoke the different methods of our session like get ID method, get creation time, get last access time. So these are all the methods of our session object we are trying to retrieve, and then formatting those values by using that simple date format object. And then we would like to display all this content in the body of the servlet. So let us construct the body by using out.println. Press enter after line 58 and paste all these lines. Right, save this. Then try to run this. So when you run this one, for the restart is always required. For the very first time when you are running it, it is going to show you the heading as welcome newcomer. After that it is providing you the information on your session. So whatever is the session ID value, when it has got created, when you access it for the last time, and number of previous accesses. It is nothing but your access count variable that you are retrieving it from your session.get attribute. Right, refresh this. So that welcome newcomer goes away and welcome back came into that place. And also number of previous accesses, that access count is becoming plus plus. So 0 became 1. Refresh again. Welcome back remains. Number of previous accesses is keep on incrementing. Keep refreshing. So that the 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, 4 becomes 5, like that, whatever the number of times you refresh it. Whereas session ID remains constant and created time remains constant till you shut down your server, whereas the last access time is keep on changing. Refresh it. There you go. Right, 11:35:13 is the last access time, which was actually created at 11:34, means 1 minute ago. Right, so this way you will be able to play with all these session related activities. Right, so once again, as part of our JSP also we'll be trying to revisit this session objects. Right, so let's not worry about much about the session handling. Right, so that time we'll do little more. So for now I want you to do at least any one of these 3 projects that I pasted here. So all the 3 projects are from studytonight.com. So try to create at least one login example, or the email example, or the registration example. Any one mini project I can call. So how do you send the emails? By using servlets. Every line of code is given to you there. So you just need to copy those lines of code and create your own project, and then try to understand those lines and then run them and get the output. Web.xml is no more required, so you can directly go with this servlet things and all. So will you be able to do this? Right, so I'll leave it for you guys to do it for tomorrow. Right, and we'll be meeting again day after tomorrow evening, and we'll start JSP things. Right, I am uploading both these PDFs, Servlet 3 and Servlet 4, in your share drive. So download them. Right, so once we meet day after tomorrow, so make sure that you are done with this particular thing. I mean, I'm not forcing you, but if you can do it, start doing it, and you'll be definitely getting some doubts, some questions, all that, so that we can discuss on those things as well. So that way you can make the training more interactive. So far I don't see any interactive way of training. I'm just keep reading my PDF and you are trying to do those examples and then we are getting the output. We are all happy, right? So as long as everything is running, everyone is happy, but we should be more happy when we get into some errors. So by generating some errors, we'll be able to learn more things than getting the output, right? So that is where I would like to recommend you guys to start doing some mini projects like this. Or if you have any other thoughts in your mind, so don't hesitate to implement those things as well, and let me know whatever the help you needed from my end, right? So I'm here to support you to help you guys. Any questions? Right, I just now uploaded the PDFs in your shared folder. You can download them, and after some time I'll also be uploading the MP4 file as well. Alright, any questions? If you do not have any questions, we'll stop here then. Thank you guys. See you on Saturday, my Saturday evening. It will be your Saturday morning, right? Chalo then. Thank you. Good night.